Guys, my name is Savannah, and today we're going to do a little more compare and contrast with some of the new animals coming to Planet Zoo with the Grasslands pack releasing on December 13th. I already released a video going over the blue versus black wildebeest, so now we're going to talk about the striped versus spotted hyena. Now, I have heard so much negativity surrounding the striped hyena, and I will just preface this video saying these are my personal opinions and you are more than welcome to disagree, but let's just keep everything nice and friendly down in the chat, please, because there's no reason to get so spun up and angry about a video game animal design. With that being said, I don't think it looks as bad as people are describing it. Do I think it looks accurate to a real-life striped hyena? No, not really, not exactly. And later in the video, I'll bring up a picture of a real-life striped hyena and we'll compare and contrast that. But the first thing that I want to talk about is going to these second set of photos here. You can see we have the striped hyena on the right and the spotted hyena on the left. Now, I do have my issues with the spotted hyena as well, which we'll get into in our next set of photos, but just taking these two designs back side by side, not back to back, I think that Frontier did a little bit better of a job with the height differences between the length of the front and back legs of the striped hyena than they did with the spotted hyena. So I do think it's worth pointing out areas of improvement where we can. And that is something that hyenas are really known for, is the fact that their front legs are so much longer than their back legs, and they have this really distinctive posture and walk because of that. So in my opinion, seeing again just this screenshot, I have not seen the striped hyena in game or anything like that. I'm just basing it off of this one photo that we have. I do see a much more stark difference in the height of its legs versus the spotted hyena. Could it possibly be a little bit more dramatic? Of course, but I do think this is an improvement nonetheless. I like the idea that the fact that the striped hyena's face and ears are much different than the spotted hyenas, because that is again something that is very different with them. And then of course the fur texture, regardless of the model design, regardless of the colors or anything else that you want to pick apart, the fur design with Frontier is always fantastic. So that ridge on the striped hyena's back obviously is much different than the spotted hyena. And so I think they did a fantastic job with that. The ears are much different shaped, and the face is even a little bit longer than the striped hyena. Than the spotted one is. The striped hyena's face is longer than the spotted one is. This striped versus spotted, if I mistakenly say the wrong one, I'm gonna apologize right now. They're so similar that I'm bound to mix them up. But if we go to our next set of photos, on the right-hand side clearly is the Frontier design, and on the left-hand side is a real picture of a striped hyena. Now, you can see just looking at this striped hyena photo, there are some major differences between the in-game version and the real-life version. The ears, for example, are one thing that do stick out to me that bother me just very slightly, in that the ears are much too long and kind of narrow comparison to a real-life striped hyena's design. Are they so far off base that they're unrecognizable? I don't think so, but improvements could be made, I do think. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about their eyes as well. The striped hyena in-game model has a little bit more almond-y shaped eyes. They're a little bit squished and kind of tilted, whereas on the left-hand side, you can see striped hyenas do have kind of much rounder looking eyes. So area of improvement, yes, of course. But I do think that they got the overall face shape. It has a much longer face, as I mentioned when we were looking at the two other photos, than the spotted hyena. So I do think they kind of got that right, where the snout is a little bit more elongated and not quite as round and squished as the spotted hyenas is. I think that they nailed the patterning very, very well. You can see clearly on the model there are stripes on both the back and the front legs that kind of get a little bit more diluted, I guess is the word I'm going to use, up onto the body where they're not as such defined stripes. So I think that color and patterning looks really good. I think the tail in the model does really look like a real life hyena. It's maybe a little bit longer than the than the real life striped hyena. But I think the fur texture looks great. It's puffy. It's, it's meant to be what it is. I think it looks accurate to that. I think they could have given the striped hyena just a little bit more bulk to its body. They're not necessarily like fatter. They just are a lot shaggier. You can see on the real life hyena, there's a lot more longer hair towards the belly where you don't really see the definitive separation between the upper limbs and the belly torso area, whereas on the in-game model, you kind of do. You can really make out the torso of the striped hyena, whereas it would be a little bit more hidden by all that fur and all that shag. So are there improvements that I think that could be made? Yes, absolutely. But I'm still very excited to get this animal in game. I still will build for it. I still will play with it. It's not so far off base. Like, people brought up the Binturong model, and that one I had a lot of problems with because that one was very far off base. The ear tufts were weird, but we've seen, like with the improvements to the Binturong and from the Caracal, they have improved and they've changed it. And they even made changes to the Binturong model when it came out, so maybe they'll make changes to the striped hyena model as well. So voicing your opinions is totally valid, and hopefully Frontier will listen to that. The next thing that I want to look at is the spotted, see, I did it, I told you I would, the spotted hyena versus the in-game model, because I have heard reference to this one as saying that they messed this one up and now they're messing the next hyena up. And again, I don't necessarily see huge issues with this one. Improvements to be made, yes, absolutely. I think they got the ears right on the spotted hyena. They're nice and round. They are a bit more puffy than they would be like in the real life hyena. The face is a little bit shorter, like I was saying, in comparison between the spotted and the striped hyena model. But in real life, it is a little bit narrower, and so I think that could be reflected well. But other than that, like the tail and the patterning and everything, I think it could do with a little bit more shag. I guess a little bit longer fur, like on its shoulders and specifically like its scruff area on the back of its neck. I definitely think that could do with some improvements. But anyway, going back to what this video is mostly about is just comparing the differences between the striped and the spotted hyena. So they both are obviously very similar, but the striped hyena is meant to be a little bit smaller than the spotted hyena. So I do hope to see that at least reflected in the game. Striped hyenas, just as the name suggests, have stripes instead of the spots. So I think they got that right as well. There are actually 4 different species of hyena, so we are of course only seeing 2 of those reflected in game, but there are also brown hyenas and then of course the aardwolf, all of which are not canines or felines, but instead part of their own family, Hyenidae. I talked about this in the first screenshot reveal for the striped hyena, I believe. And honestly, I feel like they are an underappreciated species. Many of them are reflected as being like mean or evil, and they have a lot of misinformation and generate a lot of just different myths and legends around them. I mean, if you just take, for example, how they're portrayed in Lion King, they're the villain, they're the evil little sidekicks to Scar, right? But I think they're very interesting and cool animals, and they play a really important part in their ecosystem in that they're kind of cleanup crew. Again, talked about this in my striped hyena video, but they do clean up of the big kills from lions and cheetahs and things like that, and kind of make sure that none of that goes to waste and keeping their environment clean. So I think that they are very cool animals. Obviously, the differences between striped and spotted hyenas are going to be very much in their physical descriptions, but being subspecies of the same, Hyenidae family, they're going to have a lot of similarities as well. So that's it, just my quick little compare and contrast video. You are more than welcome to disagree with me. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, but again, keep it friendly, keep it nice, please. And as long as you're keeping criticism constructive, I have absolutely no problem with that. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and if you made it this far and enjoyed the video, or if it at least made you think about something, go ahead and leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. You can follow me on all my social media accounts. All those links are down in the description. And until next time, I will talk at you guys in the next video. Bye!